Good morning, dear students. Today we have to continue the explanation of chapter 6 about chemical equations. The objectives that we are going to explain them today are about the way to write an unbalanced chemical equation and a balanced chemical equation using the conservation of atoms in a chemical reaction. Let's start with the first objective, which is about unbalanced chemical equation. To write a chemical equation, it's similar to word equation. You should start by writing the reactants. You should put an arrow in the middle, and after this arrow, you must mention the products. Don't forget that the reactants are the chemical substances used to perform the chemical reaction, while the products are the new substances formed during the chemical reaction. But now, what's the difference between a word equation and an unbalanced chemical equation? In the word equation, you should use words in order to represent an equation. For example, here sugar decomposed under the effect of heat to produce carbon and water. So, to write a word equation, you should write sugar. You should put an arrow, and after this arrow, you have to mention carbon plus water. But now, to write an unbalanced chemical equation, you must use the chemical formulas and symbols of the reactants and products. So, instead of writing the term sugar, you should write C6H12O6, which represents the formula of sugar. And then you should put an arrow, since here we just have one reactant, which is sugar. On this arrow, you have to mention the heat energy, since sugar decomposed under the effect of heat. After the arrow, you should mention the products. The first product is carbon. What's the symbol of carbon? Its symbol is C. Plus, the second product is water. What's the formula of water? It's H2O, so you should write H2O. So, it's an unbalanced chemical equation. Why it's called unbalanced chemical equation? Since if you compare the number of carbon atoms in the reactants to that in the products, you will see that in the reactants we have 6 carbon atoms, while in the products we just have 1. In the reactants here we have 12 hydrogen atoms, while in the products we just have 2. In the reactants here we have 6 oxygen atoms, while in the products we just have 1. So since the number of atoms are not equal between the reactants and the products, then this equation is called an unbalanced chemical equation. Another example about unbalanced chemical equations. Iron reacts with oxygen to produce rust, a compound named iron oxide. So, it's a reaction between iron and oxygen to produce a compound called iron oxide. To write the word equation, you should mention iron plus oxygen gas. It gives iron oxide. It's a word equation. Now, how to write the unbalanced chemical equation? By using the chemical formulas of the given reactants and the products. What's the symbol of iron? Its symbol is Fe. What's the symbol of oxygen? What's the formula of oxygen? Its formula is O2. What's the formula of iron oxide? Here you can use the crisscross method. It's formed from Fe3 plus and O2 minus, so its formula is Fe2O3 by using the crisscross method. So this is called an unbalanced chemical equation. Another example is the reaction between potassium iodide and lead nitrate that produces lead iodide and potassium nitrate. Also here you should start by writing the formula unit for each of the reactant and each of the products. The first reactant is potassium iodide. It's made up from potassium ion K plus and iodide ion I minus. By using the crisscross method, its formula is Ki. The same for the second reactant, which is lead nitrate. Lead ion Pb2 plus, nitrate ion NO3 minus. By using the crisscross method, its formula is PbNO3 2. Don't forget to put NO3 between two brackets. And so on. Finally, you should mention the formulas of the reactants. You should put an arrow, and after the arrow, you should write the formula units of products.